We'll keep this moving right along. I get to introduce Dr. Frank Baidu-Ado. Dr. Frank Baidu-Ado from PDS Biotechnology. The ticker here again on the NASDAQ is PDSB. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I will let you get right into it, sir, and I'll monitor the chat for questions for you.
Okay. Do you want me to show my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, I will do that.
All right.
Okay.
We've got you.
Whenever you're ready, I'll be ready to go.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I'd like to thank the organizers of the Benzinga Biotech Small Cap Conference for the opportunity to present PDS Biotechnology. Now, please note that this presentation contains forward-looking statements, and please make sure that you're familiar with the risk factors associated with the company as filed with the SEC. So PDS Biotechnology is a mid-clinical stage biopharmaceutical company. We currently have 3 ongoing phase 2 human clinical trials to study the company's lead immunotherapy, PDS-0101. PDS Biotech has no debt and reported approximately $29 million in cash as of December 31st. We announced last month that our phase 2 trial in recurrent HPV-associated cancers had achieved its initial efficacy threshold of 3 or more objective responses in the first 8 patients, therefore allowing for recruitment of the full cohort of 45 patients. We also announced earlier this month that a consortium consisting of PDS and our 2 Brazilian partners has been granted up to approximately $60 million by the Brazilian Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation to develop and commercialize a novel second-generation COVID-19 vaccine based on PDS Biotech's Versamune technology platform. So as you probably all know already, immunotherapy, which harnesses the power of our immune system to attack and fight cancer, presents probably the most promising class of oncology drugs to date. Merck's immunotherapy Keytruda, for example, posted sales exceeding $14 billion in 2020. Now, despite the superior promise, approved cancer immunotherapies are reported to be effective in less than about 20% of the patients who are treated with these drugs. To date, the most significant limitation to effective immunotherapy has been ineffective in vivo induction of tumor-attacking killer T cells, also known as CD8 T cells, with both adequate potency and quantity. So at PDS Biotech, we are developing novel cancer immunotherapies based on our proprietary and versatile Versamune technology platform that has been engineered and demonstrated to generate powerful in vivo killer T cell responses, as well as lasting memory T cell responses, which presents the potential for durable anti-cancer efficacy. So moving on to the technology. So T cells differ significantly in type and potency. Therefore, to generate an effective anti-tumor immune response, the immunotherapy must induce the right type of killer T cell, and these must be induced in the right quantity and also with the necessary killing potency. So all 3 are critical: the right phenotype, the right quantity, and also the right killing potency. So on the left-hand side, I have a bar chart showing the number of killer T cells induced by various clinical stage technologies. Now, the middle bar shows the immunotherapy, which includes 4 different immune activators, including an important one called GM-CSF, which I will talk about again on the plot on the right. Now, the dark green bars show the quantity of the type of killer T cell called the polyfunctional T cell, recognized to be the most potent type of killer T cell. And this study shows that the Versamune-based product generates a significantly higher quantity of T cells and also a much higher quality of killer T cell. So the effect of this characteristic of Versamune on anti-tumor efficacy is shown in the preclinical HPV cancer regression plot on the right. So if you look at the plot on the right-hand side, the y-axis is the tumor size, The gray line represents the untreated animals. Here we see rapid and aggressive tumor growth. Now the black line shows the results when the HPV-16 tumor-associated protein is administered. And here the result is complete lack of efficacy. Now the blue line shows the results when the clinical immune activator GM-CSF that I showed over here is administered with the HPV-16. And this blue line is representative of the data demonstrated and reported by the leaders in the field today. So here what we see is by administering this immunotherapy with multiple doses, an immune response results, which leads to a slowing down of the tumor growth rate, but the tumor continues to progress and the animals live a little bit longer, or the patient lives a little bit longer. Now let's take a look at PDS0101, which contains the same HPV-16 protein, now formulated with the Versamune technology and administered by subcutaneous vaccination in the same dose as before. So after a single dose, Versamune uniquely promotes large numbers of high-quality tumor-killing T cells, and as a result, after one dose, by day 35, we see complete regression of the tumor. Now, this study has been replicated several times in independent expert labs. So now, after leaving these tumor-free animals for 60 days and re-injecting them with the tumor cells, 100% of these animals were completely protected against tumor re-establishment. So this means that in addition to the strong killer T cell response, we've induced a powerful memory killer T cell response that continues to protect against future disease. Now, these studies were published in the Journal of Immunology, which is one of the top peer-reviewed publications in the field. So now imagine if we could train long-lasting memory T cells to attack and kill virus-infected cells by recognizing conserved and non-mutating regions of the virus that cause COVID-19. Our preclinical data suggests that we may be able to achieve this. And this concept is being evaluated in our novel COVID-19 vaccine being developed in Brazil, as well as our universal flu vaccine. Okay, so here on the slide, I show the company's robust Versamune-based pipeline. So in each product, Versamune is combined with a different disease-specific protein to train the killer T cells to recognize and kill the infected cells. Our lead program, PDS0101, is being studied in 3 phase 2 clinical trials addressing various HPV-associated tumors, including anal, cervical, head and neck, vaginal, and vulva cancers. Very importantly, you'll see that each of these trials is partnered with one of the top leaders in the field of cancer treatment, the National Cancer Institute, Merck, MD Anderson Cancer Center. Now, we see this as a strong validation of our science and early data, as well as the types of cancer that we are addressing. With our infectious disease programs, our universal flu studies are funded by a grant from the NIAID, and our COVID-19 vaccine program is fully funded through commercial development by the MCTI Brazil. So now I'll move on to our phase 2 human clinical trials. The furthest progressed of the PDS0101 trials is a National Cancer Institute-led phase 2 trial evaluating a novel triple combination of our PDS0101 with 2 other clinical stage immunotherapies owned by EMD Serono, M7824, a first-in-class bifunctional checkpoint inhibitor, and NHS-IL12, which is an antibody conjugated cytokine. So any patient with an advanced HPV-associated cancer who has failed prior treatment is eligible to enroll in this trial. Now, the highest objective response rate in this specific population of patients is about 30%, and this result was achieved with M7824 monotherapy. I mentioned earlier that this trial had met its initial required efficacy threshold, the observation of 3 or more objective responses in the first 8 patients, which is about a 40% objective response rate, so a 30% improvement over the current standard, was required to perform the full study. Now, this preliminary efficacy result was achieved before enrolling all 8 patients. Now, this suggests that even in this population of very ill patients, PDS0101 may have the potential to prime the immune system to induce large numbers of tumor-attacking killer T cells. This result is highly encouraging, and this trial has now therefore been opened up to recruitment of 45 patients. 2 groups of patients are now being studied. In the first group, the objective response rate is being evaluated in patients who have not yet been treated with checkpoint inhibitors. So these are the checkpoint inhibitor naive patients. In group 2, the objective response rate is being evaluated in patients who have also failed checkpoint inhibitor therapy. So these would be the checkpoint inhibitor refractory patients. Now, we expect to present more mature data on this program next quarter. Confirmation of enhanced efficacy with the novel triple combination could lead to expanded evaluation in several cancers with the PDS pipeline products. So on this slide, I summarize the collaboration with Merck combining PDS0101 with Merck's blockbuster immunotherapy Keytruda, which is standard of care in first-line treatment of recurrent or metastatic head and neck cancer. Now, this is a single-arm, open-label trial currently recruiting and enrolling approximately 100 patients. The goal of this trial is to determine if the combination provides improved efficacy over Keytruda alone. If PDS0101 is clearly demonstrated to enhance the therapeutic benefit of checkpoint inhibitors, this could expand evaluation of the Versamune-based therapies in several cancer indications. Next is the MD Anderson-led trial combining PDS0101 with standard of care chemoradiotherapy in the treatment of locally advanced cervical cancer. Here again, the goal is to determine if the combination is safe and if it provides improved efficacy over the standard of care, which is CRT alone. Now switching over to our COVID-19 vaccine. Now, based on emerging scientific data, it is becoming more and more evident that T cells responses and killer T cells in particular may play an important role in providing immunity and protection against infection. Now, potential advantages of the Versamune-based COVID-19 vaccine are the following. In addition to neutralizing antibodies, we have demonstrated the induction of T cells, which may target conserved and non-mutating regions of the virus that are less likely to mutate and therefore may be more broadly effective. It may provide long-lasting immunity due to the induction of memory T cells. PDS0203 is what we call a subunit vaccine based on recombinant protein and provides strong potential for safety. Also, it does not contain RNA, DNA, attenuated viruses, or traditional adjuvants. So with COVID-19, I also mentioned that the vaccine development and commercialization is fully funded with a grant of up to approximately 60 million by the MCTI Brazil. Pending the clinical results, the vaccine could be commercially available in 2023. Although several vaccines are now available in the United States, Latin America is still significantly underserved. We believe that with clinical success, PDS0203 could be competitive with a near-term multi-billion-dollar market opportunity in Latin America. So looking forward, we have some key upcoming milestones over the next several quarters. With PDS0101, as I mentioned, we achieved an important milestone in the National Cancer Institute-led trial this quarter by exceeding our set objective response rate for tumor regression, therefore enabling full enrollment into the trial. We expect to present more mature data on later next quarter. If recruitment efficacy continues to be maintained, we expect this trial to be completed in the first quarter of next year. Now, with the MD Anderson initiated clinical trial in locally advanced cervical cancer, we expect that preliminary data from this trial will be reported late in the fourth quarter of this year or in the first quarter of next year, barring any unforeseen events. The same applies to our versatile 002 clinical trial studying PDS0101 with Merck's blockbuster immunotherapy Keytruda in recurrent or metastatic head and neck cancer. Again, we expect interim data in about a year. With our COVID-19 vaccine, pending when the phase 1/2 study starts, which we expect to be sometime next quarter or early third quarter. We expect that the phase 3 trial may be initiated by the first quarter of next year. And so to summarize here, there is strong potential for near-term value appreciation based on the expectation of more mature data from the NCI-led trial in advanced HPV cancer next quarter. We also see our partnerships with top immuno-oncology institutions for each of our 3 ongoing phase 2 clinical trials as a strong validation of our science, technology, and also the target indications. Our ability and decision to combine PDS0101 with standard of care in 2 of the ongoing clinical studies, we believe presents a potentially rapid path to commercialization of PDS0101 if the combination is demonstrated to be superior to the current standard of care. With our COVID-19 program barring any unforeseen events, we are hopeful that an effective and broadly protecting Versamune-based vaccine could be commercially available in Brazil by 2023. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present PDS Biotechnology today.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Now I have a couple of quick questions for you from the chat, if that's all right.
That's good.
Awesome. So going back, will you be seeking a partner for the progression of PDS0104?
We anticipate that we will be seeking a partner. So we will probably going to take a very similar approach to what we've taken for PDS0101 today. With PDS0101, we actually perform studies to confirm that certain combinations could potentially be more advantageous and much more likely to provide significant clinical benefit to the patients. Those studies are currently ongoing with PDS0104. And so we anticipate that in the near term, probably before the end of this calendar year, once we have determined what the most suitable and the most likely potentially successful path for that particular program would be, we would then initiate that process of seeking a partner to move that program forward.
Awesome. And I know that on, I think it was the 11th of March, and I know you covered it just a little bit, you announced that Brazil's Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation committed up to 60 million to fund the clinical development and commercialization of the Versamune T-cell activating technology and a vaccine in Brazil. Can you tell us a little bit more about expected timelines of that getting rolled out, and what do you expect for that to mean for your company overall?
So in terms of what it would mean for the company overall, I think it continues to validate the Versamune technology platform, right? So we have focused primarily on oncology, applying it to oncology. But what's becoming more obvious today is that T cells actually play a very important role in infectious diseases also, and also protection against infection, especially with viral diseases. And so we believe that this is going to be a significant demonstration of the versatility and the breadth of applicability of the Versamune technology platform. In terms of the timeline in Brazil, we made the first submission to Anvisa, which is their equivalent of the FDA, their regulatory agency there, to review all the preliminary data. We had very positive feedback from Anvisa, and they have agreed upon our path forward in terms of the manufacturing strategy, as well as the clinical strategy. And so what we are now hoping to do is to get those clinical trials started next quarter, or at least very early in the third quarter. And we're going to be performing combined phase 1/2 study to start. And so our goal would be to get into the final pivotal phase 3 study very early next year. And therefore, we anticipate that if it goes through that process, that this product could be commercially available in Brazil in as early as 1.5 to 2 years from now. And again, for PDS, with an early stage company developing our oncology products, being able to generate significant revenues in the next 2 years would be very important for the company, and it being able to continue to grow and build out its oncology pipeline, and also very important for the shareholders to actually be a revenue generating company. So we believe this provides a significant opportunity for the company.
Great. That was a wonderful answer. In the last minute that we have, any other Any other bits that we should be taking away from the announcement of your year-end results, year-end 2020 results? I believe that was just last week. Anything our investors should know about that?
Well, I think one of the key things is PDS is operating as a very financially efficient company. You may have noticed that essentially 2 of the 3 phase 2 clinical trials are being supported largely by our partners, right? Which we believe that, as I mentioned, is a strong validation of our science and our approach. And we're really responsible primarily for funding one trial, which is the Versatile 002 trial. The fact that we have the approximately $29 million in cash allows us to go and generate the value creating interim data through the remainder of this year and early next year, right? So we have the capital to sufficiently and comfortably take us through those critical milestones. However, as is typical, we would not want to wait till we run too low in capital. So very likely we will have another offering sometime this year, but we definitely have enough capital to take us through the data generation and those critical milestones that I walked through in the presentation.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time here and you being available to answer the questions for us. Dr. Frank Baidu-Addo, thank you so much. PDS Biotechnology, again, the ticker is PDSB. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot.
My pleasure.